Claire sat on the cold wooden bench, her tailored suit looking out of place among the brightly colored slides and swings of the neighborhood playground. Her eyes never left her daughter, Lily, a delicate 6-year-old perched silently on a swing. Unlike the laughter and shrieks of the other children, there was only stillness where Lily sat. Her tiny hands clutched the chains, her feet dragging lightly across the sand, but no sound came from her lips. Lily had never spoken a word since birth. Doctors had offered explanations, therapies, and endless appointments, but nothing had changed. Claire had built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals, and commanded rooms full of the most powerful people in the world, yet here, watching her daughter sit alone, she felt powerless. Around her, parents whispered. She could feel their eyes dart toward her, some filled with pity, others with judgment. The CEO who has everything, except the one thing that matters. The sting of those unspoken words pressed against her heart, leaving a heaviness she could never admit out loud. Claire longed to hear her daughter call her Mom. She longed for Lily to run into the crowd of children, to laugh, to play, to belong. But instead, Lily sat in silence, her wide eyes fixed on the ground as though the world around her didn't quite invite her in. Claire clasped her hands together, trying to hold back tears. Wealth, power, success, none of it mattered here. None of it could buy her daughter's voice. And as she sat in the middle of the playground, surrounded by sounds of joy, Claire realized she had never felt more alone. It was in that moment of despair that she noticed a stranger walking toward Lily. A tall man in a worn jacket stepped into the playground, holding the hand of a boy about Lily's age. His presence was different, quiet, steady, and unhurried. Claire straightened, instantly alert, her protective instincts kicking in as she watched him approach. The boy ran off toward the slide, but the man's eyes lingered on Lily, not with pity like the others, but with a kind of recognition. He crouched down a few feet away, lowering himself to her level. Claire tensed, ready to intervene, but then something unexpected happened. Instead of speaking, he raised his hands and signed a gentle hello. Lily's head lifted. For a moment, her wide eyes blinked in surprise, almost disbelief. Slowly, she released her grip on the chains of the swing and hesitantly formed a sign back. It was clumsy, but it was a response. Claire's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen her daughter engage with a stranger like this. The man's face softened with a smile as he continued to sign, patiently, kindly, as though he had all the time in the world. Then he glanced toward Claire, noticing her shock. My wife was deaf, he explained softly, still half signing as he spoke. She passed away last year. I taught my son sign language so he'd always be able to talk with her. Claire's defenses crumbled. Her daughter, her silent, unreachable Lily, was suddenly alive in front of her, hands moving, eyes shining. The man's boy returned and joined them, laughing as Lily signed something to him, and together they giggled like old friends. Claire sat frozen on the bench, overwhelmed. For years, doors had stayed closed for Lily. And here, in a simple moment, a stranger had opened one. Lily's small hands moved more quickly now, her face glowing with excitement as if she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. The boy beside her tried to mimic her signs, stumbling and laughing, and Lily giggled, a soft sound that Claire hadn't heard in so long it made her heart ache. The swing creaked as she leaned forward, fully engaged, her eyes no longer downcast but sparkling with energy. Claire covered her mouth, tears threatening to spill. Her daughter wasn't just responding, she was communicating. She was seen. For years, therapists and experts had sat in sterile rooms, testing, measuring, and probing, but none of it had unlocked this spark. Yet here was a man she had never met, a single dad with no degrees or prestigious titles, bringing her daughter to life in minutes. Daniel, as he introduced himself, kept his movements calm and encouraging, never rushing Lily. She's been waiting for someone to understand, he said gently, his eyes flicking back to Claire with quiet empathy. She has a voice, it just looks different from what most people expect. Claire felt something inside her shift. She had spent so long fearing her daughter's silence, grieving the words she thought she'd never hear. But in Lily's laughter, in her eager signs, she realized Lily had been speaking all along, only the world hadn't been listening. The other parents who once whispered now fell silent, watching in awe as Lily and Daniel's son twirled around each other, their hands flying in a secret language more powerful than words. Claire's chest tightened as she whispered to herself, "She's talking." And for the first time in years, the impossible didn't feel so impossible anymore. Would you like me to continue scene 4 in the same emotional tone, building it into the climax? Claire's vision blurred as tears finally broke free, rolling down her cheeks. She pressed a trembling hand to her lips, hardly believing what she was seeing. Lily's laughter rang out, pure and unrestrained, and her little hands moved with such energy that Claire felt as if her daughter had just been reborn in front of her. Daniel watched quietly, giving Lily space to shine, then turned to Claire. "She's always had this in her," he said softly. "Sometimes all it takes is someone who listens differently." His words struck like lightning. Simple, yet carrying the weight of truth Claire had been blind to. Lily tugged at Daniel's sleeve and signed something eagerly. He chuckled, then translated, "She wants to teach me a new word." The boy beside them clapped with delight, joining in as Lily demonstrated, her tiny hands guiding theirs with confidence. Claire stood, her knees weak, and stepped closer. She had never felt so small, so humbled, yet so full of wonder. "Lily," she whispered, her voice breaking. Her daughter glanced up and, for the first time in her life, signed directly to her mother. Claire's breath caught. "Mom." The single word, silent, yet louder than anything she'd ever heard, shattered every wall around Claire's heart. She fell to her knees, pulling Lily into her arms, sobbing into her hair. "I hear you, baby. I hear you," she cried, her whole body shaking with relief and gratitude. Around them, the playground faded into stillness. Parents who once whispered now watched with quiet reverence, moved by the scene unfolding before them. And in that moment, Claire knew her life, and Lily's, had changed forever. Do you want me to write scene 5 as the final uplifting conclusion that ties the story together? As the golden light of evening settled over the playground, Claire held Lily close, her heart beating with a warmth she hadn't felt in years. Lily leaned back in her arms, her little hands trembling with determination. Slowly, carefully, she signed 2 more words. "I love you." Claire broke. The strength she carried as a CEO, the armor she wore in every boardroom, melted away completely. She kissed her daughter's forehead again and again, whispering through tears, "I love you too. More than anything." Daniel stood a few feet away, his son tugging at his hand, both smiling as though they had just witnessed a miracle. Claire rose to her feet, still clutching Lily's hand. She looked at Daniel with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You don't have to," he replied softly. "Sometimes the right people just meet at the right time." His words lingered in the air, humble yet profound. As they prepared to leave, Lily squeezed her mother's hand tightly, her eyes no longer heavy with silence but glowing with possibility. For the first time, Claire didn't feel powerless. She felt hope, real, unshakable hope, that her daughter's world was opening wider than she ever dreamed. Walking back to the car, Claire glanced at the playground one last time. She realized that the moment which transformed her life hadn't come from her wealth, her power, or her success. It had come from kindness, a simple act of compassion from a stranger who reminded her that every soul deserves to be heard. And as Lily signed again, smiling up at her mother, Claire knew they were stepping into a brand new beginning, together. Would you like me to now weave all 5 scenes into a single flowing 1,000-word narration script in the same emotional tone, perfect for your YouTube storytelling style?